everyone, and I have a problem, okay? The monkey is broken, and the pig is broken, and we need to fix them, okay? We need to fix them, because otherwise, they'll be broken. That was a great sentence. So there's been some new changes on the PTR, and yes, I'm a little bit late on this, but also at the same time, I'm going to go a little bit more in depth than the thousands of YouTubers who instantly make a 3-minute video going, "These are the patch notes. It's alright, I guess. Like and subscribe." You know, not that there's anything wrong with that, I just like to put a bit of effort in. Either way, they have, to address the problem of Winston being by far and away one of the most useless tanks and characters in the game, and just kind of ineffectual, you know, the kind of character that lands next to you and you go, "Oh, you, oh, I don't even want to shoot you really, oh, you, I guess I will, alright, leave me alone," to the actual annoying, irritating, diving tank that's supposed to drive you crazy as he hunts you down like the primal beast that he is. And to achieve that, to turn him into what they want him to be, they have done an incredible change. 15% smaller crit box. Now, thing is, this is fine and this is good. It effectively translates to his head is 15% smaller as far as your bullets and projectiles are concerned. Ergo, we will transfer a bit of survivability to him. But it's not exactly what Winston needs now, is it? Well, that's not entirely true. He does need to be tankier, but not from that. So Winston's issue is that he's not very good at doing what he's designed to do, and even worse at doing everything else. He cannot frontline tank because he's made of paper and his barrier is made of even thinner paper. He can't really flank too well because, again, he's made of paper. He doesn't have the defenses or the escapes that someone like Genji or D.Va has. I know you're going to say the jump jet, but bear with me. And he can't really be a supplementary tank because he has to stay within range of enemies to actually hit them with his Tesla cannon, so he has to be close to people, so he can't stay in your main body of teammates and help, so he's left in a position where he can't really do anything but what he's designed to do, and what he's designed to do is jump on the backline of the enemy, mess them around a bit, maybe kill a squishy, damage people down, but the majority of his design is to make the enemy go, "Huh? Turn 3 people around and deal with the monkey!" And then while they're doing that, the rest of your team can come in and take them from their now exposed rears. But Winston doesn't achieve that, because Winston jumps in, lands, puts his barrier down, all heroically, tells his team, now is the he's dead. He's already dead. He's dead. What did you do? Nothing. He's dead. He didn't even hurt anyone. He is, in fact, dead. Because he is too squishy for a tank. He's huge, he is so shotgunnable, and his offensive output is so laughably ticklish that you can ignore it. Did you know that a single harmony orb will basically make someone unkillable to Winston? And in the time that he's desperately trying to be effective, he's just going to get swamped and murdered. Hell, when do you think that Winston is actually a problem for you? When he's in ult, rampaging towards you? Even then, unless there's a ledge nearby and it's a very well-timed, sneaky Winston, which, don't get me wrong, surprise ults on Winston are very effective, but that is so niche. And when he's in ult, you're like, oh yeah, it kind of sucks, I'm being knocked around the place, this is irritating, but really, how many times have you had a game where you have thought, man, that Winston took us apart, he destroyed us, he really made it so we couldn't do anything, he was so annoying, he kept jumping on our backline and killing a support and escaping, and we just couldn't pin him down, and then when he was there, he was helping his team with his barrier, keeping them alive and separating us with his ult. It was impossible to face him. I'd wager precious little outside of the top, 3% of Winston players. And again, I harken back to it, the reason for that is what he's designed to do, he's not strong enough to do. And while I say this, don't get me wrong, there are definitely times I've seen a Winston that has been absolutely awesome. They've known just how far they can extend, have got a great grasp on just how much damage they can take. They can do the in-out barrier dance as long as they need to, really mess with people, waste their time, slowly burn them down and kill them, and that is great. But I feel like Winston needs to be as annoying as he is in his ulti, kind of all the time for him to actually see competitive play. And to solve this, you either need to fix one of three things that go into a backline diving tank. One, their survivability to stay dove for as long as possible to create maximum chaos. Their ability to get in, get out, and their ability to shake it all about. Also, their ability to actually kill. So with Winston, we have an okay way of getting in, the jump. But then do you think it takes 6 seconds to kill a Winston for a competent team? No, it takes a couple seconds. It really does. Which means that he can't jump out, so he needs to go in without using the jump so he can jump out, which limits his options because he's just got to walk slowly behind the enemy team and be sneaky. So that kind of sucks. His barrier, his health pool, and how easy he is to hit mean that his survivability is terrible, and then his actual killing, as I said, it's ticklish, so that's terrible. So to fix him, we need to change at least 2 of those 3 things and make him good at them. So for me, I think his jetpack could do with a little bit of a rework. I think it should have a 3-second cooldown, because that's the only time he's even slightly annoying, when he is hard to pin down, jumping all over the place, being an irritating gorilla. So if he can be like that all the time, then you are actually going to feel that that a good Genji or Tracer gives you, you know? That's what he's supposed to be there, jumping all over the place, not letting you actually get your damage upon him, and making it really annoying when he jumps on it. And that's really the crux of it. Winston is supposed to be annoying, and right now he's just a OU to mild irritation, and that's just not good enough. So if his jetpack had a 3-second cooldown and he could in and out as much as he wanted, I would then propose that if he waits for the old cooldown of 6 seconds before using it, he gets an enhanced version. And the enhanced version I would see is it like completely blows out the fire and smoke and really sends him going. It goes the same distance, but where he sets off from and where he lands, he creates a sort of medium-sized cloud of thick black smoke that acts as a vision blocker, so he can actually disrupt and separate people like he's supposed to do, and also actually corner off his target and make the enemy have to kind of explore and find them, or blind fire through the smoke. You could go far enough to add a disorienting, maybe screen fuzzy effect to it, just to really imply that you are choking and eyes watering on this fog that his jetpack is completely blown out from its fuel tanks, but that's not entirely necessary. At least this way, when he lands on someone, there's now a big black cloud of fog, and you're like, I have no idea what's going on, I need to save him, my god, and he actually causes you to put more resources into dealing with him, and then by the time you've got there, he's already leapt out again, and that's really good, because Winston shouldn't be tanking, as in, you know, Reinhardt absorbing fire, really wasting the enemy's attack time, and he shouldn't be murdering people very quickly like a close diva or a Roadhog or powered up Zarya, because they can do that. His Tesla should stay as an annoying tickle. So if you really supercharge his ability to be the most mobile, annoying tank by far, then suddenly he gains a use for just that pure resource diversion of dealing with him, so your supports can stop being harassed by an ever-present in-out monkey. And I think that would really turn him into what they had in mind. And a reduced cooldown on jetpack would let Winston do his supplementary role as a more supporty tank in the role that I like to call either the big brother or the you what mate. And that is the ability to go, alright, I see over there one of my supports is being harassed, jump on them, bubble down, bully the dude that's trying to bully your support, get in the way between them and the support they're trying to kill, start zapping them, force them away. You know, very much a shoo, you know, like when a gorilla beats his chest, he's like, oh, I'm gonna get really mad if you don't leave. That's what Winston should be doing with his teammates that are under attack, but in more Overwatch form. And then once he's, like, made that Reaper run away that was trying to kill Mercy, he can turn around and go, oh my god, look, my Zenyatta over the other side of the fight is currently being chased by a Genji. I'm gonna leap over there and put my bubble down and beat my chest and protect him. Oh, little brother Zenyatta. And that's something he's very good good about leaping around the battlefield and shoring up where you're weak, because Winston doesn't need to be where you're strong because he's not that good at just generally fighting because his damage output is so low. So having a lower jetpack lets him really spot check the battlefield and be where he is needed. Yes, he can do his diver roll as a tank and create chaos, but he can also really watch out for people and keep hopping between ally and ally and protecting them, and that's something that I think a really good Winston can do very well. He's a tank that can be where you need him when you need him. The issue is he's just too laughably weak when he gets there. It's like you're being attacked by a mugger, and instead of Superman arriving, a one-legged squirrel rocks up like, I'm gonna try my best, but no promises. And you know, it's adorable and it's a fluffy animal, but he's missing a leg and he's not seeing his parents for days. Wait, I feel like I'm losing the metaphor somewhere here, but you get what I'm saying. I also think you definitely could make an argument for tuning up his damage a little bit, and I think there's a really elegant solution that works within his weapon and doesn't require much change, and that is to say, if there's less targets, then Winston should deal more damage. So let's say Winston is firing out 5 arcs of electricity. When there's only one enemy, all 5 arcs should be zapping them, increasing the damage, and let's say with 3 targets, it decreases down to the damage it has currently. I think that'd work really neatly. So instead of just making him tankier, which I feel is not the solution because it just homogenizing him with other tanks, you need to make him be harder to pin down, and you need to give the enemies less uptime on him by letting him jump away more, which is Winston's iconic ability. So that is what I think needs to happen with Winston. He needs to be more mobile, a tiny little smidge more damage, and then suddenly he does exactly what he needs to do. And then as far as Roadhog, my cuddle piggy, is concerned, well, I've talked in depth about how I think he should be balanced, how I perceive the player perception of him to be an inaccurate way of gauging his power, and various in-depth discussion in another video that hopefully I'll remember to link in the description. So I will simply say this: Roadhog can only be in one of 2 states. Either you get hooked, you get one-shot, and you feel bad. Or you hook someone, you can't one-shot them, they escape, and you feel bad. There is no way to do a happy middle ground, because either the enemy or the hog player will be sad. And at this point, I've just accepted that fact, because balancing a move like this, when the hero is so prevalent that it's happening to people constantly, is nigh freaking impossible. So what they've done is made the hook even tighter when it comes to detecting who it actually gets hooked. This is good, because at the very least at high levels of play, where people aren't as whiny salty, mostly, actually, everyone's whiny salty, what am I talking about? But at least people who are at least logical while being whiny salty will know that if they got hooked, they did get hooked. That is step 1. You remove the bullshit I didn't get hooked factor, you make it a lot less annoying. That is fine, okay? I don't mind. Blizzard, make it as accurate as you want it to be. Reward the skilled Roadhogs. And now you get put 3.5 meters in front of Hog instead of 2, so nearly double. This means that you are out of melee range, so the Roadhog can't melee combo you without giving you a chance to retaliate. So you'll get pulled in, you'll get shot, that will happen, but then if you're Lucio, you can boop, if you're Reaper, you can Rayform, and all of that jazz, which again, you know, it's fine. It makes the person who got hooked feel like they could actually do something about it, despite the thing that you do about it is not be in a position where you get hooked in the first place, because if you get hooked, it means you did something wrong, for the most part. But that's okay. You know, that sorts the mental issue of, I got hooked, this sucks, because you can do something about it. The real deal is now that he's getting people put 3.5 meters away, he can no longer one-shot people that he could one-shot, at least not consistently. If you're standing still and you hold forward an attack while they're being reeled in, you'll generally still kill Ana and Reaper, which is better than Hook 1.0. But if you do it while moving, it's a lot harder and not as accurate. You'll still generally kill the 200 health heroes, it's fine, and the reason that you still will kill them despite this hook change is that they've lowered the spread of his gun by 20%, and this doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is, and it's fantastic, because if you take the power away from the hook, which, let's be honest, is Roadhog's only good ability, as I've discussed, You have to shore him up elsewhere. Honestly, he could do with a bastioning. Take a lot of power out of his one good thing and make him a better, well-rounded character. That I totally agree with. And now, because of this spread change, the right click especially is so good at hitting people for massive damage at range that you can be a much more accurate fighter, bruiser type character as Roadhog than you could before. You don't need to rely on your hook. You can just shoot people if you got the aim skill, and they will fucking die, because his gun, well, it really, really hurts. It does turn people into scrap, because it fires off scrap. You know, that's not the best I've ever come up with. And that I like, I do. Honestly, current new Roadhog, I think he's a little bit weaker than current one, but still is definitely playable, and I think will be a little bit stronger on people with really good aim. So it encourages you to get good, and that's fine. And yes, the extra 2 seconds on the cooldown of the hook is a very big deal, especially the higher up the skill chain that you go, because not being able to get a pick as frequently is very damaging. It also means you can't just throw out hooks and hope for the best, and you have to be a lot more calculated, which I guess you could see as a good thing. I mean, I'm still a little bit sad that he's getting nerfed, but whatever at this point. I do think that he might need a little bit of a move switcheroo, and this is going to sound a little bit crazy, but if it was up to me, I would trial on the PTR, and a very just a maybe trial, you know. I tell people this definitely isn't going to happen unless it works really well and everyone loves it, but I'm curious to see how he'd function if you swapped his ult with his hook. So, instead of hooking with shift, he would fire a single blast of his ult, just a big woof of scrap out. Does a nice amount of damage, knock people's back, helps him control an area, which is what his hook does as well, and that's fine. He can really disrupt people. Yes, it's a little bit close to a Lucio boot, but, you know, you gotta bear with me here. The main deal is if you make his hook the ultimate, you can do some cool things. I would definitely like to open the floor to you guys. If you had to design Roadhog's hook as an ulti, how would you make it feel like an ulti and still feel good? Because if you know that you're only getting hook bullshitted, air quote, once every ulti, you feel a lot better about it because it's not constantly. So if it was me, I think this could be quite fun. You press it and you will hook the person that is closest to where you are aiming, kind of like Soldier's ulti in terms of targeting, and it would only not work in very extreme circumstances where you go very quickly behind a wall or something and then it will detach, but it won't use your actual ult charge. So you press it and you definitely get the person you are aiming at. This way you actually have to make sure you're looking at who you want, and if it's an ulti, I think it's fair to say it will hook the person. So instead of just pulling them towards you, I think it would be cool to have Roadhog yank his hook upwards, which we have seen him do in the comics, so there's a lore reasoning behind this. And then you are in the air, hooked by Roadhog CC, and then he can do a little sort of spin round and round with you, so you're going in a circle as he's sort of lassoing the hook above his head, and then a couple seconds after that, Roadhog's moving slowly during this and can't do anything else, like while he's firing a whole hog, and a few seconds after that, you will be slammed back down to the ground in the direction Roadhog is aiming, take a fair amount of damage, and then do a little bit less damage and stun any enemies that happen to be around you when you got brought back down. So he can basically hook someone and turn them into a sort of little meteor that damages and stun people. Now, I know it might seem silly, and I don't think this is necessarily a good move, but I think it's a fun one, and I think people wouldn't mind because they'd be like, whoa, I'm being spun around above Roadhog, and the couple seconds does give you a chance to dive on Roadhog and save the person. But then again, if you're diving and saving, you're clumping up and you might just get meteored, air quotes. I think it could be a lot of fun. I don't know. I want to know what you guys think, but there it is, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this kind of ranty talky thing. Like if you did, subscribe for more, and I'll see you next time. What was that? Oh, goodbye.